She's being Cleo.
I don't like
Terror extraordinaire. Queen of being a weird cat.
I'm glad they trimmed her nails while she was out.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I just be like, here's my number. Call this number. And then they just like call you. I have not received a single call from these people. And every single time I've given them my phone number, said, I am the one who has the ringer on. Call me. And they literally, I don't even have like a failed call. Like they've never called me.
They said, this bitch don't pay.
Except I put the 200 down. So clearly I do sometimes pay.
Not enough, man.
Oh my goodness.
I just give that energy. I don't know.
I don't know either. I just like, I'm like, call my number back to tell me about the medication. Proceed to text you.
That
Huh?
must just be like the primary first phone number when they pull up our
It's absolutely it. But like, if I tell you to do something different, why would you then just like not? Like, what's the point of even asking me at that point? She thought she had never seen him look so sick about anything. But before she had time to ask any questions, they had reached the dwarf, who was just gathering up the reins of his donkey and preparing to drive back to the castle. The crowd of courtiers had broken up and were going in the same direction, by ones and twos and little knots, like people coming away from watching a game or a race. To woo, ahem, Lord Regent, said the owl, stooping down a little and holding its beak near the dwarf's ear. Huh, what's that, said the dwarf. Two strangers, my lord, said the owl. Rangers? What do you mean, said the dwarf. I see two uncommonly grubby man-cubs. What do they want? My name's Jill, said Jill, pressing forward. She was very eager to explain the important business on which they had come. The girl's called Jill, said the owl, as loud as it could. What's that, said the dwarf? The girls are all killed? I don't believe a word of it. What girls? Who killed them? Only one girl, my lord, said the owl. Her name is Jill. Speak up, said the dwarf. Don't stand there buzzing and twittering in my ear. Who's been killed? Nobody's been killed, tooted the owl. Nobody. All right, you needn't shout. I'm not so deaf as all that. What do you mean by coming here to tell me that nobody's been killed? Why should anyone have been killed? Better tell them I'm Eustace, said Scrub. The boy's Eustace, my lord, hooted the owl as loud as he could. Eustace, said the dwarf irritably. I dare say he is. Is that any reason for bringing him to my court? Hey? Not useless, said the owl. Eustace. Used to it, is he? I don't know what you're talking about, I'm sure. I'll tell you what it is. Master Glimfeather, when I was a young dwarf, there used to be talking beasts and birds in this country who really could talk. There wasn't all this mumbling and muttering and whispering. It wouldn't have been tolerated for a moment. Not for a moment. Sir Ernest, my trumpet, please. A little fawn who had been standing quietly beside the dwarf's elbow all the time now handed him a silver-eared trumpet. It was made like a musical instrument called a serpent. So the tube curled right round the dwarf's neck. While he was getting it settled, the owl Glimfeather suddenly said to the children in a whisper, My brain's a bit clearer now. Don't say anything about the lost prince. I'll explain later. It wouldn't do, to woo. Or what to do. Now, said the dwarf, if you have anything sensible to say, Master Glimfeather, try and say it. Take a deep breath and don't attempt to speak too quickly. With help from the children, and in spite of the fit of coughing on the part of the dwarf, Glimfeather explained that the strangers had been sent by Aslan to visit the court of Narnia. The dwarf glanced quickly up at them with a new expression in his eyes. Sent by the lion himself, he said, and from the other place, beyond the world's end, Yes, my lord, bawled Eustace into the trumpet. Son of Adam and daughter of Eve, said the dwarf, but people at Experiment House haven't heard of Adam and Eve. So Jill and Eustace couldn't answer this, but the dwarf didn't seem to notice. Well, my dears, he said, taking the first one and the other by the hand and bowing his head a little. You are very... Okay, Cleo. Okay, bye. You are very heartily welcome if the good king, my poor master, had not this very hour set sail for 7 Isles. He would have been glad for your coming. It would have brought back his youth for him for a moment, and now it is high time for supper. You should tell me your business in full council tomorrow morning, Master Glimfeather. See that bedchambers and suitable clothes and all else are provided for these guests in the most honorable fashion. And Glimfeather, in your ear." Here the dwarf put his mouth close to the owl's head, no doubt intended to whisper, but, like the other deaf people, he wasn't a very good judge of his own voice, and both children heard him say, see that they're properly washed." After that, the dwarf touched up his donkey and set off toward the castle at something between a trot and a waddle. It was a very fat little beast. While the fawn, the owl, and the children followed at a rather slower pace, the sun had set and the air was growing cool. They went across the lawn and then through an orchard and so to the north gate of Cair Paravel, which stood wide open. Inside they found a grassy courtyard. Lights were already showing from the windows in the great hall on their right, and from a mere complicated mass of buildings straight ahead. Into these the owl led them, and there a most delightful person was called to look after Jill. She was not much taller than Jill herself, and a good deal slenderer, but obviously full grown, graceful as a willow, and her hair was willowy too, and there seemed to be moss in it. She brought Jill to a round room in one of the turrets, where there was a little bath sunk in the floor, and a fire of sweet-smelling woods burning in the flat hearth, and a lamp hanging by a silver chain from the vaulted roof. The window looked west into the strange land of Narnia, and Jill saw the red remains of the sunset still glowing behind a distant mountain. It made her long for more adventures and feel sure that this was only the beginning. When she had her bath and brushed her hair and put on her clothes, they had been laid out for her. They were the kind that not only felt nice, but looked nice and smelled nice and made nice sounds when you moved as well. She would have gone back to gaze out that exciting window, but she was interrupted by a bang on the door. "Come in," said Jill, and in came Scrub, also bathed and splendidly dressed in Narnian clothes, but his face didn't look as if he were enjoying it. "Oh, here you are at last," he said crossly, flinging himself into a chair. "I've been trying to find you for ever so long." "Well, now you have," said Jill. "I say, Scrub, isn't it all simply too exciting and scrumptious for words?" She had forgotten all about the signs and the lost prince for the moment. "Oh, that's what you think, is it?" said Scrub, and then, after a pause, "I wish to goodness we'd never come." "Why on earth? I can't bear it," said Scrub. "Seeing the King Caspian, a dawdling old man like that, it's frightful." "Why, what harm does it do you?" "Oh, you don't understand. Now that I come to think of it, you couldn't. I didn't tell you that this world has a different time from ours." "How do you mean?" "The time you spend here doesn't take up any of our time. Do you see? I mean, however long we spend here, we shall still get back to Experiment House at the moment we left it." "That won't be much fun." "Oh, dry up. Don't keep interrupting. And when you're back in England, in our world, you can't tell how time is going here. It might be any number of years in Narnia. Well, they're having 1 year at home. The Pevensies explained it all to me, but like a fool, I forgot about it, and now apparently it's been about 70 years, Narnian years, since I was here last. Do you see now? And I came back to find Caspian an old man." "Then the king was an old friend of yours?" said Jill. A horrid thought had struck her. "I should jolly well think he was," said Scrub miserably. "About as good a friend as a chap could have. And last time he was only a few years older than me. And to see that old man with a white beard, and to remember Caspian as he was in the morning he captured the Lone Islands, or in the fight with the sea serpent, or... It's frightful. It's worse than coming back to finding him dead." "Oh, shut up," said Jill impatiently. "It's far worse than you think. We've muffed the first sign." Of course, Scrub did not understand this. Then Jill told him about her conversation with Aslan, and the 4 signs, and the task of finding the lost prince which had been laid up upon them. "So you see," she wound up, "you did see an old friend, just as Aslan said, and you ought to have gone and spoken to him at once. And now you haven't, and everything is going wrong from the very beginning." "But how was I to know?" said Scrub. "If you'd only listened to me when I tried to tell you, we'd be all right," said Jill. "Yes, and if you hadn't played the fool on the edge of that cliff and Jelly near murdered me—" "All right, I said murder, and I'll say it again, as often as I like, so keep your hair on. We'd have come together and both known what to do." "I suppose he was the very first person you saw," said Jill. You must have been here hours before me. Are you sure you didn't see anyone else first? I was only here for a minute before you, said Scrub. He must have blown you quicker than me, making up for lost time, the time you lost. Don't be so perfect beast, Scrub, said Jill. Hello, what's that? It was a castle bell ringing for supper, and thus they looked like turning into the first-rate quarrel, was happily cut short. Both had a good appetite by this time. Supper in the great hall of the castle was the most splendid thing either of them had ever seen. For enough Eustace had been in that world before. He had spent his whole visit at sea and knew nothing of the glory and courtesy of the Narnians at home in their own land. The banners hung from the roof, and each course came up with trumpeters and kettle drums. There were soups that would make your mouth water and to think of, and the lovely fishes called pavenders, and venison and peacock and pies, and ices and jellies and fruit and nuts, and all manner of wines and fruit drinks. Even Eustace cheered up and admitted that it was something like, and even when all serious eating and drinking was over, a blind poet came forward and struck up the grand old tale of Prince Cor and Aravis and the horse Bree. Oh my god, it's a reference to The Horse and His Boy, which is called The Horse and His Boy, and tells of an adventure which happened in Narnia and Calormen and the lands between, in the Golden Age, when Peter was High King in Cair Paravel. I haven't time to tell it now, though it is well worth hearing. It's so random. You already wrote that book. When they were dragging themselves upstairs to bed, yawning their heads off, Jill said, I bet we sleep well tonight, for it had been a full day, which just shows how little anyone knows what is going to happen to them next. Uh-oh. And that is the end of chapter 3.